to our 116th episode of the Gutenberg Changelog podcast. In today's episode, we will talk about WordPress 6.8, the source of truth, the field guide, Gutenberg 20.5 and Gutenberg 20.6, and a few other things, little things in between. I'm your host, Birgit Pauli-Haack, curator at the Gutenberg Times and a developer advocate working for Automatic. And it's a great privilege for me to have with me JC Palms, who is the engineering manager at Web Dev Studios, again on the show. JC was also the local co-lead of this year's WordCamp Asia in the Philippines. And it was a great WordCamp. So congratulations. So glad you make it today. JC, how are you?
I'm doing great. And actually, my role changed since we've last had this. Yeah, so I'm now the principal technical manager at Web Dev Studios.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But yeah, I'm happy to be back. And, things have been good, very busy, but the good kind. I've been deep in block themes again, so I'm excited about this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that there's a lot of cool stuff in 6.8 and the recent Gutenberg release. I think developers like me will appreciate, especially those who are building for clients and working with starter themes.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first time you were on the show was last September in episode 108. So, and you had just released the first version of
Mhm.
the WSD,
WDS.
WDSBT. Yes, I get
Yes.
it right. Block starter theme. And we discussed it on the show. And after using it for half a year now, how are you doing with it? And what have you learned?
Yeah, so it's been a great journey since then. After 6 months, was it really just 6 months of using and refining Delta's BT in real client projects? I've learned a lot about what engineers need from a starter theme, especially when working with a site editor. And we've recently released version 1.1,
Hmm.
and most of the updates were based on feedback from our team, lessons from actual use in client sites. And one of the biggest things we focused on was making it easier to, generate blocks and patterns consistently using our internal script, which is now part of BT as well. So it's all documented in the README if any developers out there want to try it out. So this really helps, streamline development for everyone. And
Hmm.
we also have a demo site so that clients and internal teams and sales can preview how the theme behaves out of the box. It's been really helpful for onboarding and for setting clear expectations early on.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yes. And with the scripts now, so you just said you had two scripts. One is to create custom blocks and the other one
Mhm.
to patterns. That's the first time that I heard about it. So what makes
Oh,
it,
sorry. Well, not that. So we have an internal script. So BT is part of our
mhm,
other repo that helps us create a client site from scratch. And what that does is there's a script that I've added in where you can create a theme in a theme based on Dallas BT in 5 minutes. And it goes through all the process in the terminal.
mhm.
And then after that, you have a full website theme working, a blog theme working as is. And the other one, which is part of BT, is in creating scaffolding blocks. So BT comes with a block theme template
Mhm.
that is baked into our custom Webpack config. That Webpack config is defaulting on WordPress config still, but we did add in a bit more flavor to it based on our use case.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's what it's for. Yeah, to
Mm-hmm.
adopt it. Yeah. So
Yep.
wonderful. So, dear listeners, we will share the links. One is to the theme and also to the
Mm-hmm.
demo site
Yep.
in the show notes, so you can test it out and kind of see if it could also be your starter theme for your clients, and at
Yeah,
least
that would be
give you
awesome.
and gives you some inspiration for that. And I'm always looking for inspiration about how people approach a topic. So I'm glad that you and your company share so much online and build it in public, and also shared quite a few blog posts about it, not only about your theme, but also your approach on getting clients work from a classic theme and then gradually go block based.
Mm-hmm.
And I just listened to Brad Williams on the press blog with Steve Birch. He interviewed him. So I share that video as well in the show notes. And it starts out what the approach is, or how they approach it in terms of guiding clients through a block-based kind of journey there when they were so happy with the other thing. Yeah. And it starts at 20 minutes to get
Mm-hmm.
really into that. So that was a really good conversation as well with Steve Birch.
Yeah.
So we don't have any announcement or listener questions today, but we have a few things that are community contribution, or that I kind of selected. And one is pretty much the same topic. Kevin Devon and Mark Wilkinson from High Rise Digital, an agency in UK, shared their theme building strategy for a school project at the London WordPress meetup. And it was really insightful to see how these experienced theme creators use the site editor to build a theme and then let the client fully customize also their sites. They actually go pretty deep and kind of show what block that they hide from the school, what block variations on the embeds did they hide, and how to do that. They even shared some code. So it was quite fast paced, but video, you can just stop it and kind of listen to it again and all that. Yeah, so it's called Building a Block-Based WordPress Site with FSE. Yeah, they also went pretty detailed in what kind of custom blocks they did, and they actually didn't program them themselves. They used ACF because of the data entry screens as well. So they only did two. The rest was all core stuff. Yeah, so it's really cool to see how that works out.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, they do some great work at High Res Digital as well. Um, and I have three more videos, so to speak, or tasks for you, dear listeners. So three well-known developers in the community continue with their live streams. They started either this year or long before, but Jonathan Bossinger, many know from the developer courses at Learn WordPress, has been learning working with AI, and he shares it, being wins or losses on the live stream. And this week he tried to find out, can AI fix my plugin check issues? So plugin check is a plugin that you install on your site when you develop a plugin and then run through all the checks that the plugin review team has built. So you're ahead of the curve when you submit it to the WordPress repository. But it's not only good for when you submit it to the repository, it definitely helps you also with your own, even if you just give it to your clients or so, to beef up that, check them out, some of the issues that are always problems. Yeah, so I cannot say because that's a secret. No, you need to check it out themselves, how good it was, how good it worked for him. And the second one is Juan Garrido. He's from Spain and is also a developer advocate at Automatic. And he shared live stream sessions in Spanish and English, not at the same time, of course. That would be me speaking Spanish. But no, here's 1 week he does this in Spanish, and the next week he does something else in English. So that's quite a good thing for the Spanish community as well. And he recently live streamed going through the data layer course on WordPress and build the app in public, and goes through not all lines of code, but he explains the concepts behind of that. Even well, sometimes you need somebody to walk you through things so it actually clicks in your mind a bit. So, and that's what Juan Margarito did. And then Ryan Welcher is kind of the pioneer of live streaming
Yes.
in WordPress. And he's done it for, I think, almost 3 years, if not longer. And he live streams every Thursday at 2:30 p.m. UTC on Thursdays, unless he's on a meetup or at a WordCamp or on holiday. And he has been recently working on adding user profiles and user interactions to his blog developer cookbook, which is kind of the base of all his workshops, where he has a few recipes that he walks through. People in live events or in-person events like WordCamps, people can vote on which recipe should be talked about. And so it was quite interesting to see at the workshop at WordCamp Asia last year and this year, because every event is different. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I kind of missed that one. I wanted to be there, but with being a local lead organizer for WordCamp Asia, you can't really be on the sessions that you want to be
mhm.
in, just because there's a lot going on the, you know.
Yeah, and unfortunately, workshops are not recorded as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're also too long, kind of. Yeah, and they are not a talk when it's recorded. It's most of the time fast moving because you only have 30 minutes or something like that.
Hmm.
But when you have a workshop that is 75 minutes, it is a lot of downtime in there, and it's moving at a glacial pace when you sit at home at YouTube. So I totally get it. But you can check out. I will share the Block Developer Cookbook repo and site in the show notes, so you can definitely check it out. And maybe you want to get on the live stream with Ryan or Juanma or Jonathan.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do about that.
So, JC, what are the places that you watch for learning new stuff?
Yeah, so I usually keep an eye on a few key places. The Make WordPress core blog is, of course, I go to it because it's where most of the important updates and dev notes get posted first officially.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I also follow what's happening on the Gutenberg and WordPress GitHub repos because the
Mhm.
discussions there give a good sense of what's being built and why certain decisions are made. There's a lot there. And of course, I check Learn WordPress pretty regularly too, especially the developer workshops. I also stay actively lurking in Slack, mostly in core editor and design. I try to catch Ryan's live stream always
Mhm.
when I have time, when I can.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I usually end up just, going through the recorded ones in YouTube.
Yeah.
but but yeah, they're really great for seeing how things work in practice. And I read a lot of blogs too. I can't give you the list of the blogs that I read just because I don't have a particular list. I just try to search for something that's interesting
Mhm.
based on the conversations in GitHub and
Mhm.
then read through all the things.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for walking us through that. Yeah. Yeah, I found the Gutenberg GitHub repo really, there is so much there that it's really hard to zone in on the or zero in on the things that you right now need or wanted to kind of explore. So tracking issues are really good. And there is now a label that says tracking issues. So you kind of can see the history of a feature, how it kind of worked out or what's in the pipeline. Of course, with the contributions being reduced, it's going to be a little shorter
Yeah.
or less features coming in. But that's it's sometimes it's a good thing, yeah, that there is a slower pace. So everybody can kind of catch up where they are. Yeah, and I feel the same. Yeah, I get the opportunity to dive a little deeper in all those things. Although I have been quite deep into it. Yeah, but if you don't practice the skills, it's just
Yeah.
superficial. Yeah, yeah. But talking about the Make Core blog, WordPress 6.8 is in release candidate 2, and it's only about 11 days away from final release. So if
Yeah.
you haven't tested 6.8, now it's really time, and you need to carve out a few hours here to make sure that your themes and plugins and actually work and the sites work with it. And that, of course, helps when you have a standardized system. So
Mm-hmm.
you only have to check mostly one site, yeah, and then some exceptions. But yeah, go and test it a bit. The field guide has the whole list of it, but it's also a little bit overwhelming. But we can go through some of the def notes that are in there. And we also have a link to the source of truth for the details on the block editor. So the list of def notes, I only had 3 or 4 stars in there. Now you have all the stars in there. That's cool. So to explain that to our listeners, I had the list of def notes in there, and only I put an emoji star to it and kind of said, okay, JC, let me know which one you want to talk about, and then we'll kind of have, and she checked all of them. It's really
I
cool.
did add in like the smiley face to the ones that I think are
Oh yeah,
really,
yeah,
really nice.
yeah, yeah. So I think that one of the major features coming on 6.8, I don't know how you feel about it, but for me, it's the speculative loading in 6.8. And it has such a great history because it comes out of a feature plugin that already had 50,000 installs in the last couple of years. So what is it? So speculative loading leads to a near instant page load times by loading the URLs that users might navigate to them already in the background. And the feature relies on an API that is now supported by many browsers. It's called the Speculation Rules API. And it's a platform feature so you can define the rules for which kinds of URL to prefetch or pre-render and how early such speculative loading should occur. So that's kind of in a nutshell and has a lot of technical implications.
I'm looking forward to this. This is one of the features that I really like as I've been testing. So for those who are, using block themes, if you're not, you should. Speculative loading is already, it's helping your site feel faster. You don't have to enable anything. It's just built in. So just to add into what you mentioned about speculative coding, so what it does is preload pages users are likely to visit next based on how they interact with the site. So when they, actually click, the next page is ready and it loads almost instantly.
Yeah, it
What
speeds up. Yeah.
I, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
what I really like about it is that it, improves performance without adding too much complexity. There's no JavaScript to manage, no extra setup. It just quietly does its job in the background. And it's one of those features that makes the experience better for
Mm-hmm.
users while keeping it very simple for developers, which I really like. Always a win in my book.
Yes, yes,
Make it easy
absolutely.
for me. Yes,
Yeah,
please.
yeah, it's a win for you, but it's also a win for the clients because their
Mhm.
visitors are benefiting from that without any additional investment. So
Exactly.
that's kind of the beauty of a WordPress open source kind of system that a lot of people work on it and a few things just come with an update without costing a whole lot of money.
Hmm. Yep.
So, but let's go a little bit back to the block editor. The first thing is that the global styles are now actually available from the left side of
Yes.
the screen. Yeah. So you have everything that you need kind of reachable from the black navigation bar, and you don't have to switch from one side to the next. Yeah, you
Hmm.
can all do it in there, which is
Yeah,
really
that
cool.
always trips me up
Hmm.
having to go from left to right when having it on one side just makes total sense.
Yes. Yeah. And what also started to from India is that you can now also get the style book from there. And it's a little bit more intuitive because when you click on the typography, you see in the style book all the blocks that have text in them. And
Mm-hmm.
if you go to images or what is no color, then you know all the blocks that have color settings in
Yep.
them, which are quite a few now. But it's easier to kind of zero down on a problem or on a concern. Yeah, kind of let's look at our images or let's look at our paragraphs or what are the styles for it and all that. So it's all there. And the user can actually change some of the global styles to switch out for their sites. If they don't like the green of the button, they can make it darker or make it blue or make it pink. Yeah, that and make it for the whole site. Yeah, so it's instant kind of replacement there. So I really like the global styles to be a little bit more accessible for my brain. Yeah. Speaking of a style book, it's now also available for classic themes, which
Yes.
was a long time coming, or a very early, when the style book came to block themes, it was an early request from theme developers to get it also for a classic theme, and that finally comes with WordPress 6.8.
Yeah, that's one of the features that I added a smiley on, because that's big. So having classic themes or hybrid themes able to access the style book is going to help a lot for those who are still on the fence
Mm-hmm.
about going full block, although they should, but it gives them that, experience.
Right. Yeah. And also the controls. Yeah.
Yes.
So it kind of, it's an easing into the
Mm-hmm.
modern WordPress world. Although
Yep.
there's nothing wrong to staying on classic themes, but it's
Yeah.
so much nicer to work with a block editor. Yeah. And then, so one of the confusions that kind of surfaced with the block theme is the confusion that, am I editing now a template, or am I adding a content page or grading a content page? And it took about, I think, a couple of years to figure out, and I'm not there. We are not there yet, but to make that easier because the whole concept of templates was
Mm-hmm.
something that WordPress users before had no touch points. Yeah, it was all in code, and it was all for the developer. And there was, unless the theme developer had a customizer, yeah, there was no need to kind of think about templates or that. But now that concept arrived at the user, and to get this right in the brain, it's sometimes really hard. And now they
Mm-hmm.
have added a switch to show the template in the editor or not. So what that gives you is, when you create a post and you click on show template, you see where the featured image is, and all the post content areas, and know, okay, when you click on the preview, it will show you also the whole page, not only when you go to preview, but already in the editor, you see how the whole page with header and footer and featured image and all that kind of shows up. It takes the surprise out of it.
Yes.
And and the same with
It just
pages.
there's a switch that
Hmm.
just gets toggled on when you see everything outlined for you,
Hmm.
because that just makes things less confusing. So this is a good move.
Yeah. And the switch is in the preview tab in the top toolbar. When you
Mm-hmm.
click on the preview, then you see that tab has changed. It has additional features now. So plugin developers can create, like your email newsletter person. Plugin can see the email from your
Mm-hmm.
post if you needed to. And there's also the show template off and on. It's just a check mark. And it's really nice. Yeah. And it goes together with a zoom out view. The zoom out view is nothing new with
Yeah.
6.8. It has been introduced to WordPress through 6.7, very
Mm-hmm.
rudimentary, but when you add a pattern to your page, it kind of goes
Yeah, there's no
automatically to
zoomed
zoom
out.
out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you see more of it, and you see the whole composition of it. Now it adds in the toolbar of that particular section or pattern that you just added, you can change the styles, if there are any, from the theme,
Mm-hmm.
and you can change the design. So if you have a call to action pattern, change design, clicking on change design gives you the other patterns that are call to actions or
Mm-hmm.
in the same category. And if you click that little drop that's in the toolbar,
Yeah.
yeah, you can browse through the styles for that particular call to
Mm-hmm.
action. And in the 2025 theme, that's actually quite nicely done. So the developers of 2025 made a real good design system. So you can just go through the color patterns for a particular section. It's really nice. And the option gives you only a few, the block options. So in the block toolbar, you see those two features. And
Mm-hmm.
in the when you drop in the drop down of the three dots, you only get 4 options, that it's copy, cut, duplicate, and delete. There's nothing else to do there. So, but yeah, I found it's still a discussion if it's a bug or not. For me, it's a bug, but other people find it, well, maybe it should be like that, is when you switch off the show template, it also switches off the possibility of zoom view, because the zoom view is on a certain element in the template, the main kind of element. And if that's not there, the zoom view does not show. So if you are waiting for the zoom view to come in because you added a pattern, you need to just check show
Switch it
template.
on, show
Yeah,
template.
switch on show template, and then you get it back. Or you could use, oh no, that's the wrong one. I thought there was a shortcut, but the shortcut is not for the template. It's for the zoom out view, and it's it's shift control 0 to get the zoom out view, but only when show template is checked.
Yes. That
Yeah.
sounds like a bug.
Yes, and I'm sharing that bug with you all, so you can chime in. It's an interesting discussion. Because it's two different things. Yeah, in my brain, it's two different things, and they shouldn't be coupled.
They're completely two different things.
Yes.
Should not be the same.
Thank you. So, well, the design tools, well, then 6.6 they started, and in 6.7 they continued with it, and 6.8 I think is pretty far that every block has all the design tools it needs. So color options, border options, dimensions are kind of now available for almost every block. And there's a definite called the roster of design tools per block. And you get a table with all the blocks in a list and which kind of feature they have and not have. So you can kind of, it's
Oh,
a
it's
fast
nice.
check. Yeah. But it could use a few more features there, like that the header kind of comes down. But right now it's with the theme right now, it's not possible.
We have a pretty sweet table style for in WSBT.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm see if I can kind of replicate the full table and put it somewhere where I have access to plugins. Because on the Make blog, there's not a whole lot of the plugins all need to be tested and approved and all that. So did you get a chance to look at the details block changes there? Details blocks was introduced, I think, in 6.7.
Yeah, I've
I
been
think, yeah.
using the details block mostly as an accordion,
Mhm.
which FAQs.
Yeah.
But this time around, I have not played around with the details block when I was testing 6.8.
So there are 3 different features so one is that if you have a list of the same things that you want to be controlled together, then you can give each one of the items, each details block. So you have a set of 3 details blocks and they're all FAQs, for instance. Yeah. Or so you can give them in the advanced section, there is a name attributes field. And if you give them the name attribute, each one of them the same, then via CSS, you can control those at the same time. And what also happens is that when one opens, the other one closes, and vice versa. So it kind of feels more like a unit for that. And you see it that the FAQ thing, I used FAQ here in the example in the source of truth, and you see that it's then attached in the CSS in the name field. So they're kind of identical named. And then
That is a good one. So we've usually added in a script to handle opening and closing the details block as an instant accordion. So having this baked in is big.
yes, and you can actually do it with a content creator can do this. The theme developer can. Yeah. So this is really nice.
This is nice.
Yeah. Then what's also nice is that the summary content, like the question for an FAQ, and then, for instance, is then also shown in the list view of the block editor. So you can identify which one you're working with. That's so nice because that helps quite a bit.
Yep.
And then you can also create anchor links for each block. So you can separately link to them from other places. And developers have a chance to modify the allow blocks attribute to make sure that only the right blocks are used in a details block. So there are quite a few things in there that makes it, I think that's one of the biggest changes for WordCamp 6.8. When I was testing, I said, oh, this is neat. Oh, this is neat, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I like that, yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah, and then the other things, some of the changes on the blocks are kind of minimal, but still quality of life changes.
Mm-hmm.
So the gallery block now has one link to, or one way to put the link to open bigger
Yes, because
once, and
having
not
to
for every,
click
not,
on every single image when you've had like more than 10 images there is
oh,
not
I would have
nice.
said two. I would have said two images. If you have more than two, you don't want to do this for every image,
I'm
but yeah.
I'm I'm a bit patient with
Yeah.
galleries just because, but 10 is my max. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, but that is really good that you just going to the toolbar, make sure they have the gallery parent selected, go in the toolbar, and then you can select the enable click to expand.
awesome.
The image block now has a feature, has a way from the block settings that you can, when you load it into your post, that you can say, okay, make this image my featured image. And you don't have to delete it and then load it again. You just kind
Mm-hmm.
of, you still need to delete it if you don't want it doubling up on your post when you display featured images with a single post template, then you have that image in twice over. But yeah, that's kicking out or deleting a block is easy.
Yeah, but that update is a subtle but
It's
powerful
very,
workflow update
yeah,
because there's no need to switch context, just to set a featured image. That saves time if you have to do it more than twice. So
yeah. If you do 2 posts a day for every day, you're really happy about that. Time
mm-hmm.
saver, yeah. And you don't have to think for it so much, yeah. Because a lot
It's
of
just
people have a website that does really nice things with featured image, but it kind of falls down when they forget the featured image. That is something that they might, it kind of prevents that people post something without the featured image. And then the image block also has some handling. You can crop things and you can, well, mostly crop. Or what else can you do with an image block? I forgot.
mostly crop,
Yeah.
resize.
And now you actually know that things happen because there are little notifications on the bottom of the screen that, oh, yes,
Yes,
we
that
had cropped it.
always
Yeah.
trips me up
Hmm.
because when you crop an image, I always have to double check, was it really cropped?
Did it work? Yeah, kind of. And I hate that question. Did this work or what happened? Yeah.
Yeah, you just know it works when you look at the URL.
Yeah. Yeah. Or when you,
It actually looks different.
yeah, it does. Yeah. So the query loop block, have you seen what's coming in with that?
So this query loop block change is actually something that because this is something that we wanted to fix way back. So that has been part of WSBT. It's fixed in WSBT, but with 6.8 having the same fix, I will have to remove that fix so that we'll have the default one.
Yeah. Which
It's a
feature
long
are
time
you?
coming. The sticky post for
Oh,
query block, where it's adding in, not being counted when you've
yeah.
set a yeah.
Yeah. There are two things. One was already in there. It's kind of exclude the sticky post.
Hmm.
But now there's a
The
new,
ignore one.
the
Mhm.
ignore one. Yeah. Where you can, and that means that the sticky part of that post is ignored and
Mhm.
it will behave like the other filters. Yeah, like if you do
Yep.
it by date or you do it by category or by tag or something like that, it's not sticking out on top on any of
Mhm.
those sites. So it's a little hard. So excluding means none of the sticky posts are showing.
Mhm.
And ignore the sticky post doesn't mean ignore the sticky post. It ignores
But
the sticky
having them
part.
go back
Yeah.
to just a usual post, not being
Exactly.
counted as sticky because sticky is sticky. It sticks to the front.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, or the top
yes.
or
Or
whatever.
the,
Yeah.
yeah, that's top.
Yeah. So there's also a sorting option by page. So for pages, you now can order by page order and in ascending order or in descending order. So if you have pages that have parents and then you have that or have in a certain order, the query loop can be sorted by that. So when you want to show them in a, why would you do that? Oh, if you're navigation or something like that, or sub
Yeah.
pages, and you want it all in the same, in the real good order
Mhm.
there. So that's certainly something that's new.
Yeah, that is new. Usually, so when we need to do that same order by, we usually do it custom, just so it's, we're able to do it that way.
Mhm.
So this is huge.
Yeah, I really like it because I had often use cases where they had a parent page about a certain topic and then sub pages that go deeper into it. And they all needed to be on one page and had
Mm-hmm.
featured images. So you can really do nice grids. But if they're in a different order, it kind of, so you really want them
It
in the
gets
right order.
hairy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
get everybody confused. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is another feature in there that comes out of the zoom out view, but it's the button in the toolbar for the query loop for the group block that kind of holds everything together. So you can change the design. So if you grab a pattern for the query loop and after thinking for it for 2 minutes, you don't like it, you don't have to throw it out again. You just kind of click on change design and then you get another list of the other
Mm.
possibilities how you can put it together.
Yeah, I kind of
Um,
like the change design
mhm.
link.
Yeah,
It's
very good.
it's a game changer. You don't have to, again, it's a quality of life thing.
Absolutely, yeah. And you can now get the query loop for pages for all levels. Yeah, so you
Mhm.
can say, okay, on the main page, I only want the sub pages to show, but not the main page kind of thing. Yeah, and so it's kind of really interesting. And the source of truth as well as the PR, they had an example query, so you can kind of test it out, a pattern there, so you can kind of go through that. Yeah, that was the query block, right? The
It's
next thing
nice.
is the new block is the query total block, and
Yes.
it just shows the number of posts or pages in that particular query. And you can also add it to the pagination or something like that, like 10 of 12 kind of thing. You get there as well. And it's quite nice.
One functionality that I need to recheck because
Recheck
we have that.
on your theme.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, because
Imagine.
that
Yeah.
is built in as well. There's a lot of updates in
Mm-hmm.
6.8 that we fixed in BT
Mm-hmm.
that we have now to,
Remove
retest
the.
and remove as needed, which is quite nice. Then, because, it's all going to be default functionality now. You don't have to fight
Mm-hmm.
against the system. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you have somebody else maintaining that part of the code.
right now it's me and whoever is available at the moment.
Yeah,
But
but I
I'm
mean,
mostly.
it's the whole set of contributors that
Oh yeah,
work on
yeah,
Gutenberg
of
that kind
course,
of maintain that.
exactly.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have to kind of think about, oh, we had a customization there, so let's figure that
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
for sure.
So while that was all going on in the release cycle and I was talking about things, I got a question that people had a hard time finding or making sure that the query total block shows up. They couldn't find it. It only shows up when you're inside the query loop. It's similar
Mm-hmm.
to the pagination. So if you're outside the query loop in your canvas, it doesn't show up in the inserter
Yeah,
because it
because there's
has
nothing
nowhere
to
to go.
connect to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, you and I know that, but it's not a
Oh
easy
yeah.
concept for people. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to always think about that because
Yeah.
sometimes I just think in a developer mindset. So
Uh-huh.
it's a switch.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes it's just surprising what is clear to me or others in the field. Yeah, a new user or another, yeah, a content creator kind of says, "How does that go? Yeah, how does that work? Yeah, I can't find it."
Yeah.
Yeah. So the social icon has minimal changes, but one is that it now also has the Discord icon. So if you want to link to your Discord profile or Discord server, you can do this in the social icons block. And it now also has, you can use the arrow keys to navigate to the link. You don't have to go twice on adding the URL to whatever new social icon you added. So
Nice.
it's really streamlining the process. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I've just kind of skipped over it. The separator block can be now really expanded because you can add a different tag for it. The separator block has only an HR tag
An
until
HR,
now,
yeah.
the horizontal
Oh.
line. And now you can actually replace it in the advanced HTML element section of the block and make it a div. So then all the CSS that you can do with any other div, you can now apply to the separator block and makes it
Mm.
a nice, it can be a nice decorative kind of tool for your theme and for your site. So I think that transformation really helps with, or that setting, additional setting helps really with styling, adding
Yeah.
more styling possibilities. I was just
I
saying
guess we'll be
transformation.
using the separator block more.
Yeah, it can be like interesting breaking up the wall of text, yeah, when you have some decorative
Mhm.
stuff there. Yeah. I can see that, for instance, the little pattern things that you had in WordPress Asia website, yeah, that they could be kind of a little bit more CSS instead of just an image
Mhm.
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking about transformation there, but I was just reading transformation. What you now can also do is kind of transform a separator block into a spacer block. So yeah, this is also one of the workflow improvements that come with 6.8. I don't know if we have to go through the editor changes, all of
Mm.
them. I think there are two new commands. One is add a new page, and the other one is, I totally forgot. My God. Open the site editor. Yeah, when you are somewhere in Pages or something like that and you want to just go back, you don't have to click 15 times to get back to the to the design tools. No, you just do open site editor, Control K, and then start with site editor, and it gives you the option already in the command palette that flows on top of your screen.
Oh, keyboard shortcuts too. There are
Yeah,
two new ones, right? Is it two?
yeah,
The
it's
the paste block styles with command control and
oh, good.
option out. Yeah, that one. That's going to get heavy use
Yes.
from me at least.
Yeah,
So
and
with that shortcut, you can now paste block styles
right, yes,
using, yeah.
you can copy paste block styles over. That's fast. Yeah, you can really do that. So the next thing, what I really like is the starter content is now available for. You can switch that off. That's the first thing. So if you add a new page, it automatically comes with starter content if the theme provides them in a modal and kind of gets in the way to get started with what you want to do. Some people like it and some people don't like it. It's the 50-50 thing. But
Mm-hmm.
some people,
It,
so you can switch it off. So you can toggle that show starter content patterns off, and you can also change them in preferences. But you can also find them in the categories of your patterns. It says starter content. So if you do want to see them, you can just go there and get a list of the starter content for that particular post type. And
yeah,
it
that one I
was,
have not tested yet, but that will be useful for, clients who has very particular styles for a custom post type. With the toggling on and off of that feature, is that available per custom post type, or is that like a global
it's a global thing.
setting?
The show starter content patterns, that's a global setting. But starter content until 6.8 wasn't available for other custom post types. So
Yeah.
yeah, but now it is. So you can, if you just in the header of the pattern, you say that's also for your custom post types. It shows when you do add new custom post type, it also shows the starter content, which wasn't available before.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's definitely a good feature request for enhancement to at least provide a filter for theme developers to switch it off for certain post types and on for other post types. And speaking of theme developers, now you could have your patterns in different folders. So it's not all in the patterns folder, like 20.5 has, I don't know, 80 patterns in
A
one
lot.
folder. Now you can, and I had to do with the name of the file, I had to sort it. Yeah, like H, yeah, or CTA dot, yeah. Now you can have folders like patterns CTAs and all, put them all in there, or patterns and testimonials or something like that. Yeah. So it's a little bit more organized in your theme folder. And I really like that. Yeah. Because I'm also a fan to having separate style folders. Yeah. So I have styles for blocks and a style for other things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we do with BT as well. So styles are there included in folders with, it's words. I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, just making sure that you have styles in the graph folder.
Yeah.
And being able to do that for patterns is
Really organizing thing.
that's going to make things a lot more organized because we don't need 80 patterns, more than 80 patterns in one single folder.
Yeah, maybe you don't need 80 patterns, period. But but some people actually then need them for a larger site. Yeah. So
Yeah.
and then you can kind of sort it out through the folders. Yeah. Because you have the categories, and if you make the categories kind of also be your
The
folders,
folder.
yeah, it kind of helps. So that was kind of what I wanted to, well, we talked a lot about the block editor kind of thing, but I really like that because it's such a neat tool and we need to dive in sometimes really deeper into the features. Now for the developers, the field guide is out, and I definitely urge you to look at that and skim it at least for things that are interesting to you. There have been a ton of accessibility improvements, and Joe Dawson, the team rep of the accessibility team, has done a fine job putting that together so you can really see what has changed and what have been improved upon. There are also some developer related changes for the block editor in their miscellaneous block editor dev node. I think George Mamadashvili did that. He was also the editor tech lead for the release, or is it's not out yet. And it definitely also deals with deprecations, of being experimental, coming stable, or deprecated kind of thing. So you definitely want to check that out to make sure that you have that on your radar when the things
Yeah,
get
for sure.
deprecated.
Yeah, I always make sure that I check that because you can't have deprecated functions, especially in client side. So
Yeah, and when they're announced through the console, yeah. So sometimes clientele tell me, okay, I get this yellow note in
yeah.
there. What does it mean? I said, yeah, ignore it.
It's for styling.
Mhm.
Just ignore it. It's
And then there is a post about the interactivity API best practices by Felix Arns, and also avoiding deprecations warnings is part of the headlines there. But it definitely, if you are working with the interactivity API, definitely check it out. It gives you quite a few interesting pointers there. Oh, there is a more efficient block type registration. That post is also from Felix. Yes. Now you can register multiple blocks in one function, so it doesn't have to be called over and over again, which is definitely a performance improvement. And it also you don't have so much code in it. Then check that
yeah,
out.
I'll check that out because I've added in another custom function that allows us to do that just in one
Mm-hmm.
function.
Yeah.
Don't have to call it out multiple times.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, so anything in the WordPress 6.8 that you wanted to talk about that we kind of skipped here?
Definitely the new filter. because that's going to be
Oh, the
huge.
should load
It's the
block
should load
acid
block
on demand.
on demand.
Yeah,
Yes, that
explain
one.
that to me.
Yeah, so with that new filter, it really just allows developers to make sure that blocks will only load their assets, the styling and the scripts for that block when it's actually on a page, when
Oh,
it's used on a page. So that was available for core blocks
mhm.
before. And let me just, there's one other filter I think that is part of that.
Should
Uh,
load separate core
oh
block
yeah,
assets.
should
Yeah.
load separate core block assets. That one we are using on BT, just handled differently. Again, custom function because we do have custom blocks that I would want to not load because by default that loads, right? So with BT, that only loads when it's actually used. I would have to change to this new filter because this one is more efficient. It just does it out of the box. So with should load separate core block assets, it does two things. It loads the core blocks and then with the total block library script with all of the styling and stuff, and then the scripts and the style sheet for
Mhm.
that particular block. What this new filter does is it loads. Yeah, I mentioned that. It only loads the script and the styles for that block,
Mhm.
not the
Yeah.
entire thing. So
No, I
that's
get
going
it.
to be
Yeah.
a lot of improvement. We do that already, which means I have to change that function out to this new filter, which is
Yeah.
kind of amazing.
Yeah. You were definitely ahead of your time.
Because we need to fix things when WordPress is not yet ready to fix it because we
Mhm.
need it. We need that function right away.
Right.
You can't just wait. But glad that what we've done for BT is being done by default now.
Yeah, you can kind of rip it out. All right,
That'd be nice.
my dear listeners, we are all through the 6.8 release so far, and I hope you find some really good things in there. Now we come to Gutenberg 20.5. And don't be alarmed, and we have 20.6, but there are not a whole lot of new things or mentionable enhancements that we want to mention here. So we'll still probably stay within the time of our podcast, although there is no time. It takes that long as it takes, like many other things in life.
Because there's a lot.
Yeah, so 20.5 Gutenberg plugin. It has the updated edit site link for the admin bar that now goes actually back to the site editor and not to the page that you're actually on or the template that you were on. So that confused a lot of people because every time you clicked on it, you were on a different page. So sure, every time you click on it, you go to the same page. So that is really good. The Great Block package now supports blocks manifests and the relevant core APIs by default. That needed a little bit of bug fix in there, but that is now, it also has to do with the multiple blocks, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
this one I think is a huge deal because having it aligned, better with core and the support manifest by default means there's less guesswork and just better starting point for custom blocks.
yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the block button, if it's used in the navigation bar, now also has, so when you're in a navigation bar and you add another link, if it's a custom page link, it offers you creating a new page, but not with a button. So now when you add a button to it, it also gives you the capability to draft a new page, which
Nice.
is really nice. So you can use those buttons more. What else is in there? So the data view actions, as a plugin developer, you can use a modal to do whatever the action is. And now you also have the possibility that you can control the size of the modal. So it's not kind of the same size every time. And you have a lot of white space there, or you can focus on certain things. Now you can actually control the size through
Hmm.
props. That's developer speak. So, but you will appreciate that.
Of course. There
Now,
are a couple updates there that makes me smile.
which one?
The trailing period cleanup and the defaulting back to the 100px spacer block default.
Yeah.
And those are, I mean, these are really just petty things for me, but I'm glad that people find them weird as well. So
Mhm.
they're fixing it and adding it back. Thank you.
Good. Yeah. So there's a change in the data views, which kind of comes on par with the WP add the old page things, where you have the pages listed in the admin as a sub page if you have sub pages, like so a hierarchical kind of
Yeah, it just shows the
dimension there. Yeah.
hierarchical thing, not the
Yeah.
flat thing, and
Yeah,
that
and that now
helps.
came also to the data views. So you have it
Oh,
clustered the way you actually designed it or put them
nice.
together. So I'm kind of sorry. There's a little
Yeah, I'm also
there's a
reading
pause.
through.
Yeah, I need to read through that.
Oh, the mobile one.
Yeah.
So, because when I test BT, I always test on multiple
Mhm.
interfaces, like you should. And that also includes editing.
Oh, yeah, editing on mobile. Yes.
Editing on mobile is a lot more easier.
Oh, now, yeah, that's good. Yeah. What else do we have? That's pretty much for
20.5,
20.5.
yeah.
Yeah. There's also the documentation about the WP scripts with the build blocks manifest has been updated as well, so you can read up about it. And the color experimental duotone has been removed from core blocks, but I hope they'll keep it in. That is stabilized now. So it's called filter dot duotone instead of color experimental duotone. So it's just a rewording of things and also make it stable so people are more inclined to use it in their custom blocks as well, because some people shy away from experimental stuff because they don't know how it will turn out.
Yeah,
Right.
because usually they change their name, which is going to be the case here.
Mhm.
I don't think so for client projects, we usually do shy away from the experimental stuff, just so, it needs to be as stable as it should be.
Mhm. Well, this makes
In my
total
personal
sense.
projects, though, yeah, I do use that in my, like, I guess, well, I play around with all of the experimental stuff on my
Of course.
own theme.
Yeah,
As
it's
you
fun,
should.
right? That's
You end up seeing all the things that get broken on the next update, which is kind of fun.
or you at least can start kind of prognosis, kind of say which one gets broken first, yeah, kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, make begging easier. So that was Gutenberg 20.5. We are now coming to Gutenberg 20.6, and there are additional features in there that are not coming to 6.8, except for the enabling the starter pattern for all post types. That was backported to 6.8, but the others are. I don't think that the keyboard shortcut to paste styles is actually in 6.8. I think that's in 6.20. It's in the Gutenberg
Oh,
plugin, and it doesn't
oh
have
yeah.
yeah, it does not come to 6.8.
That's sad.
That's sad. Oh, so sad.
I like that.
Yeah. So they're adding support for more granular controls for the table of content block, which also hasn't made it to core yet because it needs a little bit more finessing. But
Yeah.
if you use it in your private sites, or well, some people like me are brave or are stupid, depending on the perspective.
Mm,
They use
we
Gutenberg
use
in
it on
Gutenberg
one.
on production.
Yes. But this table of content block controls thing, this I love.
Yeah,
But again, it's one of those almost there blocks.
yeah, yeah. And what we are talking about right now is that you can select the heading levels. So if
Mhm.
you want all the H2s in there, then you can say that, or you want all H1 to H2 to H6 in there, you can say that too, or anything in between. So it's a nice setting on the sidebar for the table of
Yeah.
content. And I think I tweeted out a little video to show that off. But when I was testing it, I
It's
said,
not
"Oh,
an
this is nice."
8.6, so
Yeah. Yeah. Then what else? The navigation bar has
navigation, yeah.
gets a transparency slider for the submenus background, which is highly appreciated. But also that is not yet in. Yeah, it just
Not
came
yet
in
in 6.8,
20.6.
yeah.
So that is out. So 6.8, just so if you want to go back and kind of look at things, 6.8 has Gutenberg plugins from 19.4 to 20.4. So with 2020 and only bug fixes, most of the time, only bug fixes get backported to the core, to the current version. But then new enhancements are not going to make it there. In 20.6 Gutenberg plugin, you also get a new option for opening the links in a new tab for the RSS block. And that is something that a lot of people wanted, and now we have it. Now you can shortcut for pasting styles. Was that the 20.6, 20.6
Yeah,
already?
that's the 20.6. That's
Yeah, it was a small release because most of the Gutenberg developers, like George Mamadashvili, Fabian Kagi, Aki Amano, and a few others, they were all really in the release cycle, occupied with that. So yes, but that's it. We are all almost at the end of our show. Well, thank you, dear listeners, and thank you, JC, for sticking it out with me and having a discussion of that. It was wonderful to chat with you about the things. And dear listener, as always, the show notes will be published on gutenbergtimes.com/podcast. This is episode 116. And if you have questions and suggestions or news you want us to include the next time, just send them to changelog@gutenbergtimes.com. That's changelog@gutenbergtimes.com. So this is it. Thank you, JC. Thank you all listeners for being with us again. And hello, all the new ones that we gathered, new listeners we gathered on all the different podcast apps. Well, I wish you a great weekend, everyone. Well, the weekend will be over when you get to read this. So I wish you a nice weekend, JC.
Thank you.
Yeah. And until the next time, thank you.
Thank you.